About 25 years ago, my family bought a working cattle ranch. The ranch, as we've come to call it, covers everything you see here up to the river and lake in the background and has been home to grazing cattle for almost a century. At just under 900 acres, the ranch covers a lot of territory and is rich with natural resources. It also features some unique points of interest, such as the Beaver Pond and the Wild Zone, which has actual Native American grinding stones that have remained untouched since they were left there. Wildlife at the ranch is plentiful, and you never know what you might run into when you're out and about. But you will definitely run into some cows. They're free to roam wherever they want around here. It's pretty much their ranch. About a year and a half ago, to escape the craziness of the world, we started coming out here a little bit more. And while we were out here, we noticed that things just weren't looking quite as we remembered them. Trees had fallen, decay and neglect had taken over. Between families and careers and everyday life, months turned into years, and time and age did their thing. And it was really a shame. I had always had a memory of this place which was far different than what we were seeing now. So we decided to do something about it. We decided we were going to create a place where people can come and create the same memories we did growing up. But before we did any of that, we needed a place to work. And so the plan was pretty simple. Create a base of operations that we can work from, making sure it was comfortable enough so our families could be with us. To keep the pressure on, we had already invited everyone we knew to a party 10 months from the day that we got started. In the beginning, the amount of work seemed overwhelming. So we decided to start small. Let's clear out one area first, and like layers of an onion, we'll work our way out, and little by little, we'll just keep on it. Here we are discussing where the fire pit needed to be. Our symbolic first fire almost became our symbolic second fire, since Reg couldn't handle that burning log in the background. Now that we had a cleared out place to cook and keep warm at night, it was time to take care of all those fallen trees blocking roads and trails. We made ourselves a bunch of firewood, and then made burn piles with the rest. With cleared roads, trails, and a ton of firewood, we turned our attention to the barn and the parking bay. Having lights meant we could work longer hours into the night, making our work weekends here much more productive. It also meant that we could charge batteries and plug in tools that we needed. So we ran a whole bunch of new circuits and installed a solar battery backup setup so no more generators needed, which meant lights in the bay, lights in the barn, which made it far less creepy than it used to be, and much faster top ramen than before. The cows have spent the last 20 years using this parking bay as an outhouse. So we called in for some gravel and got to work clearing it out. The best part about this time lapse is the amount of dust that shows up in the beginning versus the amount of dust that's in the air at the end. It was literally like a breath of fresh air once that gravel was in. If you're curious, this is 20 years of spider webs. The barn was a hot mess, so getting this cleared out felt great. Since it was winter and temperatures dropped to below freezing most nights, we got ourselves a used stove from a local family that was moving. We learned, like most projects around here, there's no manual, no part to buy. You have to figure it all out and make it work, which I kinda liked. Now that the barn was a more hospitable place, we were able to move in some tools and some equipment. At this point, our new skills and inflated confidence led us directly to our most ambitious project yet, bringing water to the barn.
So the idea is this is currently going to a water box way up there. We now need to branch off so we can pump fresh water to the barn, which is way back over there somewhere, behind that orange tractor. So I'd say we're at about 70 or 80 feet right now, so that's about 10% the way. It's about 700, call it like 650, 700 feet it's gonna be. Which doesn't seem like that long, but when you start doing stuff like this, that's a long way.
This is where Reg was downright heroic. I honestly thought we'd never get through this trench, but he spent a collective 14 hours on that excavator and made it happen. Once we got the trench covered, it was just a matter of wiring up both sides, the barn and the well. Now, instead of dragging this big generator 700 feet away and hauling gallons of water up, we simply flick a switch. It was an agonizing 45-minute wait before water finally started flowing. We then got to work on the tank, pressure pump, and filtration system, taught ourselves how to plumb, installed a pretty sweet IKEA kitchen. This is the most satisfying hand wash I've ever had. Now that we had clean water, it was time to do something about that busted up corral and field. The text thread went something like this. The old horse corral had lost all the fencing and the field had turned into a barren wasteland of nails, barbed wire, and cow patties. We thought the idea of having wiffle ball tournaments with a giant fire pit and sitting area in the outfield sounded awesome, so that's what we did. For the fire pit and the outfield barriers, we harvested rocks from around the property. Our friends at the delivery company thought we were a little bit crazy for planting new grass in the middle of one of the hottest summers on record. Thanks to our volunteers, we managed to work out a schedule and maintain consistent watering all summer. And a mere 9 weeks after we planted, we got this. With the field out of the way, last-minute preparations were in full effect. And before we knew it, it was time to invite everyone over to see how far we got. The party was pretty much perfect. In fact, the party was so successful, we actually didn't get much footage of it. Everyone was too busy playing, hanging out, meeting new friends, and eating great food. We set out to accomplish the goal of finishing this first phase. What we didn't realize was that in doing so, we would also catch a glimpse of what we ultimately want to share with everyone. The opportunity to create memories with family and friends in a place that we think is pretty special. Someone once told me the only time you should look back is to see how far you've come. And looking back on this project, we've come a pretty long way. It wasn't always easy. We broke a few things. The neighbor managed to pierce our main irrigation line, which we had to spend a week fixing. But it didn't matter. Every time we solved a problem like this, it gave us the confidence and motivation to move forward. What started out as two buddies daydreaming about what could be turned into reality, which is something that, at least for me, never happens. Most humbling of all were the amount of people that came to help. Friends, family, even some people who drove 8 hours to volunteer. People that would give up their weekends to work in 100-degree heat, and as they were heading home dirty and exhausted, they would thank me for it all. It was amazing to see what this place does to people. The reality is, I should be thanking them. Because without their help, none of this would have gotten done. It was the collective will and effort of this group of people that came together and made this place happen. And for that, we're thankful. So where do we go from here? Work is well underway on what we're calling Phase 2. Cabins to stay in, places to fish, eat, and drink. So stay tuned and hope to see you out here someday. Thanks for watching.